This piece really grew out of previous work that Mark and I had done. We did a piece called Listening Post that was at the Whitney in 2002, and that piece was a kind of portrait of chat on the internet, rendered in this kind of sculptural, spatial way. With this piece, we're trying to do a portrait of the news as seen through the New York Times, but then kind of exploded into this spatial installation.
We're used to, in the case of listening posts, seeing chat or reading bulletin boards in a very particular way, framed in a very particular way. Same with the news. We read the New York Times, either we get the paper or we see it online and we take it in a very particular way. What we're doing here is taking the pieces apart and putting them, displaying them as completely out of context. It's that kind of breaking down into individual pieces that might cause you to see something different.
My hope is that the piece will somehow channel all the work that's going on in this building upstairs, all this process of gathering of the news, of sorting and editing and figuring out what's important and what's actually going to make it into the paper and onto the web, that somehow that process and the energy behind it will be channeled through this installation.
The people who will come through this lobby are the creators of the news, or the authors of these words, and they will hopefully see bits of their writing on the walls and recognize bits of their handiwork. The Times has been very gracious in giving us a feed of their content, and then we also get the archive back to 1851. So all of that somehow has to be put into a structure. We have a series of parsers that are going through, parsing out the sentences, and then all of that gets pulled into a kind of common database structure that we then use to, that Ben and I use to create the different scenes that you're seeing.
So what we're seeing here is the beginning of letters to the editor, and this part of the piece just basically puts from a particular time period 560 different letters to the editor on the screen, and you can hear that they're kind of typing out with this sound that evokes typewriters.
So what we're seeing here is a scene where we've contrasted quotes taken from the day's paper, quotes that begin with I and quotes that begin with you, and they come in together in pairs, and then they play out over the whole stretch of the hallway. Sometimes they come just singly, sometimes an entire column of them will light up. As Ben and I are in this lobby working, we're seeing the active times, we're seeing the quiet times, we're seeing when the building actually goes to sleep because people are not around, and when it's awake and active, like now. As we learn more about the day of the building, I think that'll help inform the kinds of scenes that are playing out at different times of the day.